What you will find and what your team members will find is that the more they hold the line with the certainty and the conviction and the confidence to say, okay, I hear you're telling me you want one treatment or whatever it might be, but I am telling you that if you want to have incredible outcomes for this XYZ thing that you're telling me you want that we've just discussed, this is going to blow your mind and this is what we need to do. Hey, beautiful friend. If you're a longtime listener of the podcast who's been dying to work with me but hasn't pulled the trigger yet, I have an incredible opportunity to work with me for a fraction of the cost. If your estheticians can't explain your signature plans or your new injectors panic every time they have to sell a high-ticket consult, it's not their fault. It's the system, or more specifically, your lack of one. That's exactly why I built Ask Heather AI, the first strategist level tool for aesthetic and wellness CEOs who want to scale with precision and stop flying by the seat of their pants. Inside, you get 3 powerful tools, each designed to solve the exact gaps that keep your growth tied to you. Turn your basic menu into a branded high-ticket signature offer suite your whole team can sell. Train every team member to lead premium consults with confidence, even if they've never sold a thing. Write magnetic messaging that attracts premium patients without sounding like every other clinic online. These are the same frameworks we've used to scale clinics to 7 figures and beyond, and they used to cost 5 figures to access. Now, you can have them in your back pocket. Try Ask Heather AI for 30 days and see what happens when you stop guessing and start scaling with words that work. Head over to heathertrevine.com/trial to learn more. Well, hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. You know, this episode was inspired by something that I noticed when, one, we're getting ready to actually renovate our house. We live in a part of Phoenix that is older. It's a neighborhood that was designed in the 60s. And we are in an original 1961 ranch style house that when we originally bought the house, gosh, eons ago, over 10 years ago in like 2012, we bought from the original owners, and we had to do a lot of work on the house, obviously, and really it's been like a labor of love. We've done a lot of work on the house. Well, that was over 10 years ago, and we are due for an update and renovation to our house. And we have recently hired an interior designer and contractor that are going to help us with this process, okay? And as I am working with I've worked with this interior designer before, and she originally came recommended from a friend who I really liked the results that she did with them. And as we begin this process, it is interesting because there's different ways you can renovate a house, right? Like we theoretically could go to Home Depot or Lowe's and try to do it ourselves, right? And go there, and they have providers that will help us. We can go to them, and if I'm really direct and clear, the customer service associates there can actually help us find what we need, and they actually will have service providers there to do the work too. The difference with hiring my interior designer and general contractor is the reason why I have hired them, right? It's going to probably be a more expensive process than me just going to the paint store or Home Depot or Enter, wherever it might be. It is going to, in my mind, produce so much more incredible of a transformation and results for our house. And I was actually talking about this on the team call in MSA recently. So this is the call that is with the estheticians, injectors, front desk, patient coordinators, the support staff, and the team members of our clients. And I was explaining with the team how many of them are inadvertently acting like an associate at the paint store or Home Depot rather than acting like the expert interior designer that is hired because they have a point of view, because they're an expert, because they are the authority, because they are going to lead the project. And in this case, the project is the patient that is in front of you that is looking to achieve a certain outcome. And what's interesting is the designer, I have hired her to hold the vision for me. She's not just picking out pretty things. She's challenging me to do things I didn't originally plan for, but that she knows I'll potentially regret not doing later. So, for example, I had already kind of earmarked certain things in my mind that I wanted to do, let's say in the kitchen, or because we're touching almost every room in our house in this renovation. We're redoing bathrooms and that sort of thing as well. And so we're updating the kitchen. And as an example, I had not planned on updating the backsplash. Okay. We have like a large subway tile backsplash. And Christina, our interior designer, is really challenging me on the idea, like, if you want this to be epic, like, I really think that we should actually update the backsplash too. And that's just one example of where she's sort of holding the line and she's holding that vision. And then she's challenging me where I will likely like the results even more if I were to. Now, and she's being like, very supportive. She's not like, she's not like challenging me to spend like 10x what I had planned on spending, but I am going to be spending more. And that's part of the reason I hired her, is because I want the outcome to be absolutely epic. I want it to be gorgeous. And so she's leading me. She's not just reacting to me. She's not like, oh, well, I'm not going to mention anything about the backsplash because Heather didn't mention that she wanted to redo the backsplash. She understands that the backsplash is part of the transformation of the kitchen. And I told her I want the kitchen to look like it's a fresh kitchen, right? So I hired her because I don't want it to look like I have a Home Depot result. I hired her because I know that she is going to make the transformation that much more amazing. I did not hire her because I thought this was the cheapest route to go. That doesn't mean I don't have a budget that we're like, working with, meaning we're navigating where we're investing and where we're not and what have you. But ultimately, she's not thinking to herself, oh, well, Heather doesn't have the backsplash in her budget, so therefore I am not going to tell her. No. She is actually holding that vision and holding me accountable to the things and the desires and the outcomes that I told her I originally wanted. And she's spotlighting other adjacent problems or, details that as a novice, hobbyist interior design person who enjoys interior design a lot and who pays attention and looks at a lot of interior design things. So because I actually have a point of view in style personally, even for interior design, more than I even do for my personal style. But even with all that, I understand that she knows more because she's done this a bunch of times. And so we were talking in the team call about this because oftentimes we unintentionally end up like the customer associate who's working at the Home Depot or the paint store, right? Where we are just responding to the list that the person comes in with and then just delivering on that. When in reality, what I want for all of you is that you are able to really lead as an expert, that you are able to be like an interior designer / general contractor in the sense that you actually understand what is going to create an epic outcome. This means sometimes having uncomfortable conversations with your clients. And one of our team members was sharing that she feels like lately she has gotten a lot of folks who are coming in, and maybe you can relate, where they want, let's say, all of their pigment fixed, but they want it done in they've got a wedding in 4 weeks and they want like one treatment that's going to fix their pigment. And it's like, okay, like now we need to actually hold the line and say like, one treatment ain't going to do it, right? It's probably not going to be fixed in the next couple of weeks, right? And actually painting the picture of that transformation instead of saying to yourself, which is what many people do, like, oh, you might off the cuff say, okay, one treatment's going to be tough, but okay, let me pick out the best treatment, that one treatment, saying, since you're giving me the boundary of one treatment. What we coached through was this idea that we actually, when they tell us that, we actually have to have the uncomfortable conversation. Now, for me, it was not uncomfortable, but I get it if you haven't, for her, or for anybody who hasn't been in the practice of doing this, it can feel uncomfortable in the moment. But one of the things we were talking about recently, what I've been talking about recently with my clients, that is a phrase that I love, that I was just reminded of on the actual MSA CEO call, is that being unclear is unkind. And this is why I have so many personal friends who have been disappointed in results at various aesthetic clinics, med spas, insert, wherever they've gone. And it's because of this idea that like you think it's being nice, or you don't want to end up in any sort of uncomfortable scenario, or, oh, they don't want this, so I'm just going to say X, instead of deciding, no, they came in and told me this is what they want. And I have to hold that vision for them. And I have to stand my ground and be like that interior designer or general contractor. And so I challenged them and went through sort of a process that is like, I'll tell you guys the high level version of it, but it's something I'm going deep with team members right now in MSA, because these 3 things are what will actually start building the building blocks of really increasing not only the results you're able to achieve, but also the lifetime customer value that all of you should be really, really focused on growing and growing and growing, right? So first shift is to actually shift into thinking about your patients more like long-term projects. And what I mean by that, I don't mean like, oh, we're long-term in the sense we're not going to tell them everything at the start. I actually recommend, people think, oh, it's going to be overwhelming to tell them what they need for the whole year. It will not be overwhelming if you are not overwhelmed. Okay. And I know this because I did it. And also it does take some reps to kind of hold the space. And that's why I like having a menu structure that makes it so that our clinical protocols can be packaged together in a way where folks don't have to make as many decisions, and it simplifies the decision-making process for your patients and your clients. Eventually, it simplifies it for you and your team members too. But the first thing you have to do, and the first thing my interior designer and general contractor did, is they actually build out a plan, right? So the first thing you want to do is to have that annual roadmap, that annual blueprint, that annual game plan that you are going to give to every single patient that you see every single year, right? And that is similarly to the interior designer general contractor making a game plan for us. Now, was it disappointing when I found out what the real true timeline was going to be and what was involved in the renovation? Always. Okay, this is our 3rd time doing a renovation. And I'm not even, 1, 2, 3. This is our 4th time doing a renovation. And no matter how many times you do it, it's always, the budget's usually bigger and the timeline's usually longer. Anybody who's done, TI build out for your brick and mortar or has done a renovation at your home, you know this, right? And so in the same way, it was my interior designer's job to give us a realistic expectation of what it was truly going to take to create an outstanding outcome, right? This is different than if Bryce and I were just like, we're going to go to Home Depot and tell them, oh, we want new floors, we want new tile here, and it's going to be a lot more choppy, if you will, of an experience, right? So number one is you have to actually build the plan and decide that, this is how you work. This is like you're focused on the folks who want the big transformations. Doesn't mean you're not going to get the folks who don't. We've talked about this a lot. But if you can keep refocusing on the folks who actually want the big transformation and build all your systems, processes, offers, marketing, consultations around that, you will naturally start to build the customer base of folks who want that as well too. So number one is actually building it. Not just recommending services, but creating an annual plan based on long-term outcomes. It's documented, right? It's built for them, and the client understands why, right? It's not just a random we have a peel special this month, and so I'm going to sell you into our peel special. That's not the vibe. Then the second part that the interior designer and the general contractor are doing for me is that you need to do for your patients or clients is to actually hold it. Okay? Hold the vision. This means holding the line when somebody is telling you, and it doesn't mean we force them, but when you have that certainty and conviction that you know your stuff, and they've told you, as an example, that they want their pigment fixed, or they have cystic acne and then they have scarring that you need to correct, you're going to need to have an honest conversation about what it's going to take day one, right? And then you have to hold it. You have to hold it for them in that conversation, and you have to hold it for them for the entirety of the time that they are actually a patient or client of yours as well too, okay? So holding it for them, and then holding it for them takes a variety of different things, and I mean it in a variety of different ways. One is literally in the conversation, holding it, holding the space, and actually holding the line about what it's really going to take, right? And it's fine if they come back with whatever they're going to come back. But what you will find and what your team members will find is that the more they hold the line with the certainty and the conviction and the confidence to say, okay, I hear you're telling me you want one treatment or whatever it might be, but I am telling you that if you want to have incredible outcomes for this XYZ thing that you're telling me you want that we've just discussed, this is going to blow your mind, and this is what we need to do. If you do that over and over and over and over and over again for folks, you will find that more and more folks will actually say yes. What happens is that many of you and many team members sort of lose their conviction in the conversation once they've discovered that there is some sort of objection that they are witnessing, and they want to sort of bypass any of the negative experience of that. And so then they kind of acquiesce, right? Oh, okay, let me back off, right? Holding it also means actually documenting it and then holding it throughout the year and coming back to it and revisiting it. This is where many of you struggle, and many of your team members don't have a process for doing this as well. And the third thing is, after you're holding it, right, this goes hand in hand, is forecasting. Okay. And forecasting, we're going to be talking about in an upcoming episode as well too, a little bit more, means actually that your team, you have a system and a process for forecasting the upcoming appointments on the calendar and how you are going to navigate the recommendations that were made for the year and how to continually touch base with that and look at it on so this could be a patient coordinator, a front desk person, or what have you. It doesn't have to, and it can be the team members who are providing services and treatments as well, like estheticians, injectors, laser techs, what have you. But somebody is going to be forecasting it. So meaning we're going to look at the upcoming appointments. Who's coming back in? What were they recommended? Do we have new before and afters to share on the things that they didn't say yes to that they could say yes to now? Are there promos that we have running that are directly related to a recommendation that was made for the people we actually have on the books coming up, right? This is where you are going to be not only able to really increase your sales, obviously increase the results, but you're actually going to make the experience for your patients feel like it's not so just I'm coming in and whatever. right? I'm coming in, I'm getting my talks, and we talk about whatever we talk about, and there isn't really truly a game plan, right? And then the game plan isn't just given once. For those of you who are doing the game plan once and you're doing it well the first time, that's great, right? At least you got that going for you. But I'm telling you, this will take it to the next level when you keep that consistency and make that the standard operating procedure for how you handle your patients throughout the year. And then, of course, the next year, they're going to come and get an annual game plan again, and it just becomes the standard operating procedure, right? But this episode is really about the thinking and the approach that you are taking. I'm assuming that if you're listening to this, watching this, that you want to be a premium authority expert, that you want your team members to be seen that way as well too. And this works for interior design companies, right? If you look at like Studio McGee or the Lifestyle Co., or that is here locally if you guys know who they are. But it's not just the owner, right? They do have like the head person, but then they are able to have a team of interior designers as well too. And they're able to hold the vision as well, right? And so when you hire them, you don't expect that they are just going to give you one paint color and one sofa. You hire them and you understand that, right? And they bring that energy to it. And so in the same way, I really want you to think about this and think about right now, where are you and your team showing up like the paint store or like Home Depot? And where can you really own that like premium interior designer, architect, general contractor, insert folk who is going to help you with a huge premium renovation of your house? Where are we missing on this? And which of my team members am I really seeing struggle with this? Because this is something I'm going to be really working with our team members on during team calls, because it's something that is so impactful and I see it time and time and again. And it's just like a little switch that turns on once they realize that they've been acting this way, and we can help them actually lead this way. And it makes them, and it makes it so that you and your team can actually enjoy the experience of being a leader. I did not have a hard time selling big things like, recommending $10,000 packages, right? I was also neutral if they were like, oh, hey, that's more than I thought it was going to be. Whatever it was, I was like, hey, like I'm an evangelist for this transformation for you. And that is the thinking that I had. In the same way, my interior designer is that way too. So I hope this little nugget, this was like an aha moment for a bunch of team members that I was coaching this week. And so I wanted to share it all with you as well. I hope you loved this, and let me know if this connected with you. You can always email us over at hello@heathertrevine.com or DM me over on Instagram. I hope you're having a great week. See you next week.